Hey everyone, my name is Joey Zolkowski from the Toontown Rewritten team, and I'm going to be giving you the latest development update from Toontown Rewritten. Now, as a lot of you know, last week we had our version 2.8.0 update, which was really awesome and represented a big milestone for us, not just because of the new things released with 2 new trolley games, new Toon tasks and items, as well as the awesome April Toons Week event, but it represented a milestone for us internally because it's the first update that's been developed by our Next Update project. Now, this is something we've kind of dreamed about for a lot of years, but have never really had the manpower or resources to put on. But the Next Update project is this idea that we have a smaller group of people on our team focused on releasing small-scale content updates, while the rest of our development team focuses on larger things like Sellbot field offices that take longer to develop. Now, this isn't a promise in any way that we're going to be able to release updates every month or even every 3 months or anything like that. We're certainly going to still try to get our updates out as fast as possible, but this was largely an experiment. It may have been a successful one, but there's still things that we need to figure out and ways to make this work in the way that we want it to. But it was still really awesome to get this update out there, and we're going to continue trying to get you these smaller scale content updates at a more regular interval than we have in the past. Now, back in September, we talked to you about the latest state of Sellbot field offices. In the Behind the Toonverse panel at Toonfest, we gave you an update on all of the percentages and just a rough estimate on where we think that things are at. So we have those percentages updated, and we wanted to share them with you, not because we really have a release date or anything like that to announce right now, but we just wanted to give you transparency on what the progress has looked like and just a good state of where development is at. If any of you remember from our last developer update, although we often call this the Sellbot Field Offices update, this is actually really a much larger expansion that encapsulates 3 main things that we're going to be talking about. Of course, Sellbot Field Offices, the Sellbot Task Force, and then some miscellaneous things that need to be done before we can really call this expansion complete. So we're going to be starting off looking at the core gameplay of Sellbot Field Offices, which is really the logic that allows this big boss to take over Toon headquarters, and then all the stuff that goes on inside of it. As you can see, not much to talk about. These are all largely the same as before because a lot of them were done, except for the multiple group logic, which we'll be addressing once we get to our QA phase. The exterior, again, is one of those things where there's not too much to talk about because honestly, a lot of this stuff was practically done when we last talked about it. And it's one of those things where maybe if we weren't quite so much of perfectionists, we could call these done. But we're a little scared to call them done until we've gotten to that final QA and polish phase where we can put the final details on it and be fully confident that there's not going to be any more changes made. Sound effects, although they haven't changed here on the percentages, we are working on them right now that the building animation is in a much more final state. Moving on to the battle rooms, again, largely unchanged, but we have done a little bit more optimization for these rooms and we'll continue to be working on that. For the maze game, this is the feature that we've brought over from Toontown Online. So we have completed all of our game design changes that we wanted to add on top of this to really make this feel like a better game that fits in with our version of Sellbot Field Offices, and hopefully ends up being much more fun than it was in Toontown Online. Now here comes the exciting stuff because this is the ice game, which is where a significant amount of our progress has been. Earlier this year, we did tons of playtesting for the ice game, and I'm very excited to say that it is now in what we call a beta state, which essentially means that the ice game has all of its gameplay features implemented, and the only thing left to do at this point is a tiny bit of visual polish on top. We've really overhauled a lot of the ice game mechanics, and I'm really excited for you guys to see how it's come out because it's quite different in a lot of ways than when you last saw it. As you can see, a lot of these percentages have bumped up all the way to 100%. For technical art in particular, that one probably would have been 100%, but we've actually added a few new things in here, which kind of evens it out back to 90%. Finally, the last feature for the Sellbot Field Offices part of this expansion is the Boiler Room. The Boiler Room is actually where we're putting our focus on right now. So although not a lot of these percentages have changed too much from our last update, this is about to get a significant amount of progress as we move forward with it since we've moved on from the ice game and some of the other features that we'll talk about shortly. As you can see, the boss model has gotten quite a bit of work, as well as the room textures completed and the battle art getting quite a good bit of progress as well. Now we'll move on to talking about the Sellbot Task Force, which is essentially the main way that field offices are tied into the core game progression with Toon tasks and a new mini playground called the Toon Resistance Hideout that lives beneath Sellbot headquarters. Speaking of the hideout, as you can see here, our area model has gone from 0% all the way to 80% complete, and we're beginning to texture it right now with a little bit of progress happening there. It has been so exciting to see this come together in game, and it's probably one of the things I'm most excited for you all to see in this expansion when it comes out. The next part of the Sellbot task force is Toon Tasks. And Toon Tasks are something we haven't talked about a whole lot in the past, and I don't want to give you too many spoilers right now. However, I will say there are a lot of new Toon Tasks in this expansion, more than a lot of people realize. And we did tons and tons of work to get them to a state where it really feels good and feels like classic Toontown. As you can see, the dialogue's just about 90% complete, the design is completely done, and we've got the programming almost done as well. One of the really cool things that we did is we actually built a tool that allowed our writers and designers to write dialogue and balance the Toon Tasks outside of the game programming, which gave them full control over these to really make them more rich than some of the Toon Tasks we've seen in the past in Toontown. Essentially, this means that our writers and designers could completely create the tasks themselves, and all it takes is a programmer to copy and paste them into the game code, and they're just ready to go. It's very exciting and very promising for the future of Toon Tasks. Now, Resistance Rank, if you remember, is our feature that's sort of the equivalent of progressing through a playground or earning your cog suit. It's what makes you feel like you're actually moving forward in the game. The design and GUI for all of this is complete. We've got it programmed in game. There's just a tiny bit of polish left on that GUI to address some feedback, but it's really exciting, and that feature is essentially fully programmed. Lastly, we're just going to talk about some of the miscellaneous odds and ends of this expansion that need to be done so we could really call it complete, starting with our backend components. Our new art export pipeline is completely finished, and on top of that, we've actually added a new script-based rigging pipeline into this, which was something that wasn't even planned during our last developer update. So not only has that been planned now, but it's completely done. Didn't even exist before, and very exciting to see. We also finished our new client and server deployment infrastructure, which you guys have actually already seen in action with things like the 2.7.0 and 2.8.0 updates. Now, we move on to the mysterious major feature improvement, which is one of those things that we're keeping intentionally vague because we want it to be a surprise for you all when this update releases. Now, this is a weird one because surprisingly, one of our percentages has gone down just a tiny bit because we've added a couple new things in that we're working on the art side. However, programming has made significant progress as well as technical art, and we're just about finished up with this. I can't wait for you guys to see what it is. And of course, our final miscellaneous feature, no launch would be complete without preparing for it. So we've got our marketing materials, which is another one that went down in percentage because we've added new things in here. Some people may wonder why we would spend more time doing marketing for this, but we really want to make sure that Sellbot Field Offices is something that not just catches the attention of people in the Toontown community, but catches the attention of people outside of it so that it really brings back a whole lot more activity to the game. This is a huge expansion, and we want to make sure that we do it justice and really portray how much is inside of it. And of course, there's not much to talk about for final balancing and QA testing because that's really the last thing that we're going to do once all of the rest of the features are complete. So there you have it. That's the state of our Sellbot Field Offices expansion right now. We're still working super hard, and it's worth noting that a lot of the progress that we've made has actually been made in 2021 as a result of the things that we've done like Next Update to improve our efficiency. We're very excited for you to play it. We can't wait to show you, but we're not going to be hyping anything up or showing any more gameplay until it's actually time for the update to launch. The good news is that although you can't see that stuff right now, whenever you do start getting little hints that Sellbot Field Offices are coming soon, they really will be coming soon. So thank you all so much for watching this development update. We hope that it gives you a look into what we've been doing. And if you have any questions, certainly feel free to email them to us or leave some feedback on our Discord server. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you next time.